Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. My name is Avi, and today I will be playing your local real kind thief boy, who is also a barista, especially today, Arata Satomi. And with me today is my most wonderful friend who I adore being with every single day. I listen to their rambles, and it's mwah, chef's kiss.
What?
Would you please introduce yourselves?
See, what Avi doesn't realize is, after all, since they're such an inspiration to me, I took a page out of their book, and I have actually slipped an Uno reverse card into their back pocket.
Cass! My only day!
I know.
Alright, the bit's over. Come on, introduce
Alright,
yourself.
yep, we got this. So I am Spec, and I am playing the E1 private investigator, Grimtome. I did not say Detective Grimtome this time. I caught myself, which is really funny because he's never been a detective the entire time I've been playing him. Yet I think I have more introductions of him as Detective Grimtome than private.
It's a time here in
It is a time.
in the Aberration Investigator server. But yes. It's a wonderful evening in Toontown. And you are a 7-foot tall toon.
Player. Sorry, I'm gonna shut up now. You started with this a wonderful, and my brain went, yes, this is the perfect time to make the goose joke.
I was making a goose joke, but I think we both said something different, and I did not hear you.
I didn't either. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was amazing.
Sometimes brain cells connect.
We high-fived on the astral plane. Anyway.
I'm quiet now, so you can actually do this.
Alright. It is a lovely evening in Toontown, and you are a 7-foot tall toon. Tome! Yeah! Tome!
I need you to know what I originally said was you're a horrible player to try and fit the full goose theme, but I think the 7-foot toon just took me out of it. I need to remember not to drink water during FPSs with you because I will do a spit take. Anyways,
I'm just a comedic genius. We've been you. Dabs.
You really are beloved, man. I've missed doing these with you. So what is Tome doing?
That's what I'm asking you.
I know. I'm saying it. What has he not been doing? I feel like Tome feels like his life has been pretty plot heavy recently. He's definitely had some things brought to his attention.
Oh, he sure has.
Takes a sip.
Yeah.
For those who have not listened, I cannot remember the name of them right now. Let me quickly grab his thing. There's 2 FPSs you may want to consider listening before this, which would be hunting down his things. Untangling the Past, and I don't actually have the other one added to my playlist, so I can't look into it. The missing piece one is important for actually the missing piece is most important because otherwise half of the humor of this FPS will probably not hit, and this is going to be a funny one. So please, it's going to be an angst FPS, but please, you gotta listen to that one so you can get the joke that's going to murder us right now. Anyways, basically, spoilers for Tome stuff that's happened recently, but Tome found out about Azumi's past, and Tome found out about Camille's past.
Well, not all of Azumi's past. He just knows that at some point Azumi died.
Yeah, which, I'm gonna be honest, Tome, the thing is Tome does not think there's more to that in Azumi's past, because that's enough for one entire backstory. That's an entire backstory in its own. Don't worry, we'll have Tome unpack the rest of that later.
Yeah.
You'll figure out that's future Tome's problem. Current Tone's problem is two kids who have died. I swear, if I meet a third one and make it a gag and just doesn't realize he's already met a third one.
Boy, do I have a
Anyways,
surprise for Tome.
Tome. Gosh, this is gonna be the fourth one. So who's gonna tell him? Who's gonna tell him? We just keep it a secret from Tome that he's met more than two, and he's gonna keep being in fear of meeting that third one, which makes it a gag for him, because he lives in constant fear of gags because of how toonish his life is, and then just anytime he mentions, oh, thank goodness I haven't met a third one, or else it'd be a gag, we just have Arata and Leo sweating in the background. Anyways, yes, what Tome is doing. Gosh, I absolutely sidetracked and rambled there. Tome is, yeah, so all that's happened. We've laughed our way through it, but that's a lot of heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Heavy angst. That's how, yeah. So Tome's kind of walking. Tome lives in Toontown. You wouldn't believe it, considering how many of these FPSs take place in Phillistown, but Tome lives in Toontown. And so he does go back there and he has decided, you know what, he needs to take a walk. Being in his apartment is not as fun because motions to the entire case in there, though having other people around has been nice.
Shit, is Detective
So,
Moria still living with Tome?
I don't know. I didn't bring it up because I don't know where in the timeline this takes place, and I don't know how long, and I can't exactly currently message Morsky because I think they're asleep. So it's a question in the air. Detective Moria is both there and not there until we have an official FPS that says Detective Moria is there.
Oh man, Schrodinger's Moria.
Yeah, basically. I will say Tome does still have an extra bed even after Detective Moria leaves. So that at least that's staying plot consistent, just because Pritch has informed Tome that no, I'm not getting rid of that extra bed. You should have people come over more often and not be so lonely. And which I think is, by the way, as of the current moment, yes, Tome's pin is on before I forget to state that for the audience.
Okay, wonderful.
He will take it off if things get too serious, but for now we can have absolute chaos. But you know, as I was saying, I can focus, I swear. Just yank me if I start to ramble too much, beloved. Tome is trying to clear his head a little and just process all this. Because while yes, he is not like Camille. He is not a murder magnet. He normally has to go looking for a case to solve. So Tome's pretty safe just wandering around.
Yeah,
Or
sure.
he thinks he is. So he's just processing this. He's walking. He's thinking over what he's learned. He's being absolutely normal about this. Totally isn't having a crisis.
And while you're totally not having your crisis, why don't you roll me a survival? Because I think it's funny.
I thought you were about to say perception, and you went, no, we're gonna nerf Tome some.
Okay, so you don't faceplant into the door.
I'm so glad that I don't think the recording picked it up, but God, was I snorting at that. That's thank you.
Alright, so with a 15, you're doing, like, some, like... I'm not sure if you're really paying attention to, like, where you're going as much as you're paying attention to, like, where you are. Because at some point, you find yourself in a pretty familiar, area of Toontown. This is a sort of back alley area. A lot of the establishments here are smaller businesses, but you do come across a building that you recognize. It is a very small, narrow inn, wedged between, like, well, there's actually like a back alley, and then there is a another building. I don't know what building it is. I've just focused on the inn the entire
The
time.
building. There's a building.
Yep, there's another building there.
Sure is a building.
There sure is a building. This is Toontown. But anyway, you recognize this building as the last one in. And correct me if I'm wrong, you've been here before.
Oh, Tome has been here! I motioned to the missing piece FPS. He had a time last time he was in here. He also got bullied into, considering putting his items in boxes. This didn't happen until later, and a bit more bullying from Camille, but it was where the idea was placed, because this is where Tome had the hammer space switch FPS.
This is where Tome trauma dumped his entire hammer space.
Thank you very much. It wasn't his entire hammer space. We had to cut it short because Tome has a really big hammer space.
That is fair.
He did trauma dump multiple statues though. I feel like that is a very important thing to bring up considering the amount of bullying he gets for it.
Yes.
Anyways, as you were saying, yeah, so Tome kind of freezes and looks. Does he see anything, beloved?
Well, it is open. It is evening, like, the sun is starting to set. So the establishment is not closed, and you do see, like, a Toon, through the window, you see a Toon working at the front desk, and there does seem to be a light indicating that the restaurant is open, but you don't see anybody in the restaurant, like, eating there. So, yeah. But speaking of the restaurant, there is a very good smell coming from this building.
Tome is handing me such mixed feelings, because Tome at one hand is like, nope, I have trauma there now. Don't want to go there, but also at the same time, he is a Toon, and that's a really good smell. And he is a Toon. I'm gonna roll a quick little whiz. He's gonna go in there either way because plot. But I want to see how much of that is because of food. Oh, he absolutely he it's not even conscious really. He kind of just slowly starts making his way inside.
Yeah.
And right. Yeah, he's kind of just looking. Sorry, kind of just looking around, but it's not, it's kind of that like half in and out look. The biggest. He's not doing the Toon good smell float because he is 7 feet tall, and that is like an Eldritch horror design in my head. I'm sorry.
He's gonna hit the door.
If
he's gonna
he
hit
just
the door
becomes like a noodle. He just becomes like a little wave if you. It's Tome. If you like remove any sense of weight, what little weight he has, he will simply float away.
This is true. He's like a windsock.
That's, as the gallery said, liquefied. That's what terrifies me. My brain refuses to acknowledge the idea of Tome liquefied. It doesn't like making this noodle man more noodle. He stops being a man at that point. He just becomes a. It just becomes a. It's more. I don't know why. It's just the idea of him like doing that little weird wavy thing. You know, the old cartoons used to have where they have the character really wavy.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
That was Tome. It doesn't fit him. It makes I don't know if it's Tome or something, but brain does not like that. Anyways, I will say he floats a little. Before he does bonk his head, because I really like the bonking head thing. Hachi, I'm rolling perception. Not for anything. I just want to see if he remembers. Because I have made this a gag whenever he walks into rooms that are not specially made. Okay. So the bonk head does have to come from the floating. If he rolled low enough on that, he would just have walked forward and absolutely full force smacked his head.
So you bonk your head either way, right?
Oh yes, absolutely.
You startle the goddamn, like, poor little rubber hose rabbit, too, that's been working at the desk.
You're good there for a little bit?
Yeah, you startle the poor little rabbit toon who is working at the desk, and she kind of like jumps in her seat, and she goes, "Oh, are you okay?"
He kind of blinks and it manages to snap him out of his daze and kind of just rubs his hands and goes, yes, sorry. I wish I could say that's not normal for me, but...
She does that thing where she looks you up and down and back up again.
He sighs. Yes, okay, yes.
Alright. Now that you're inside, you do, I can say that you can tell that not much has changed since the last time you were here. It is still pretty empty.
Tome is giving me mixed feelings about, on one hand, he doesn't like busy things. On the other hand, this makes everything he's about to do here more dramatic, which he knows is dangerous. So, Tome voice, I can sense the plot already. It's too quiet. It's quiet! How am I supposed to say too quiet?
It's not too quiet because with the 25 you do hear like a little like jingling of a collar tag, and someone in the restaurant area just go, oh, "Get out from under there."
Would he recognize that voice?
I'm going to say maybe, because because this person is speaking pretty lowly.
I can roll another perception if you want.
Perception or history?
I look at the difference in modifiers here. I will let you choose.
Go with history, because I think it would be really funny.
Because we're dealing with either a 0 or a +10. There is a notable difference in modifiers.
Oh my god.
I'm loving the gag we're getting of us going, we're gonna nerf Tome by doing an intelligence-based roll, and then he rolls high.
I love it. That's amazing. He has a trope. Yeah. You definitely recognize that voice. It's a little different from the last time you heard it, but you're pretty sure.
Kind of blinks and he kind of tilts his head and he kind of points. Am I allowed to go that way?
Oh, yeah, you can go that way.
And Tome is gonna follow the voice because, wait a minute, that's familiar.
Yeah, and you walk into the restaurant area, and standing at the behind the counter, next to where like the stove area is a familiar real kind young man who is dressed in like a in an apron. I forgot to draw him in the apron for the FPS. For the title card, it's fine, don't worry.
It's fine.
And he is looking down towards the ground as if looking at something behind the counter. He has not noticed you yet.
There are two things that go through Tome's head. Three things that go through Tome's head in that moment. First of all, he's wearing an apron. He must work here. 2, wait, he works here. 3, oh no, this place is plot relevant, isn't it? You can see the little gears turning in his head. He's like, this is 2 notable events that have happened at this inn. It has a name next to a building without even any sort of identification on it, and then just random alleyway. Moon, I found a plot relevant place and I walked in here twice. Well, this is my last time visiting here. Tome voice, I'm not making it. I am starting to realize Tome has a serious fear of gags, actually. This. I'm
Oh
starting to
my
realize things.
god.
Things. Things I did not expect, but I should have when I made him such a. So, fall victim so often to the, Toon logic. Anyways, um. I'm looking away from the gallery for just long enough to talk. Um, Tone kind of stands there blinking before he, because I am keeping this gag. He kind of takes off his hat because, one second, someone's knocking.
Oh, okay. Hi, gallery. Thank you for that pun. Not really pun. That rhyme. Fletch. That was very good. How we doing?
I live.
Ah.
It was very quick. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Sometimes when I don't know how to respond, I will just yelm.
You're so valid. I gently bonk your head. Okay. I hold. He takes off his hat because whenever he needs to get serious, he takes off his hat. I just randomly remembered midway through that sentence he's wearing heelys. Anyways,
Wonderful.
I always forget that until I scroll far enough down this sheet. He kind of takes off his hat to be semi-serious because that gag does happen, and there's a moment of thought as he's trying to. What do you say to this? And I'm gonna roll. It'd be history, right, to remember name, right?
Yes. Remembering is a history thing. Yeah, that's true.
Yep. Arata, was it?
And he looks up and he just goes, "Oh, hey, Inspector Tome?"
There's a blink at the name. Remember to kind of nods. Like, yeah. Wait, you work here?
I live here.
There is a blinking and then a silent internal moon. It really is plot relevant then. It's the most defeated internal sigh.
What are you doing in my house?
Okay, first of all, can you really judge considering how we met?
No, I just like pulling people's legs.
Okay, that's fair. I can't. Okay, now I'm starting to see why Camille and Leo like you. Hey, gallery. Tome never said that was his house. He's acknowledging he met Arata because Arata was climbing through the window of someone's house. He was very careful with his wording there, gallery. Tome, give Tome a bit more credit than that, okay?
Tome's wearing the pin, isn't he?
Hmm?
He's wearing the pin.
He is. Tome. You just hear under his breath, Gallery, I'm very aware it isn't my house. Okay? I wouldn't ask for it to be my house. Gallery, we're not having the dad crisis right now. Gallery, no, we're not doing that right now. No, you all both quiet.
All right, that's good enough.
Gallery, you can't hurt him like that. One second, what did Avi roll? Oh yeah, you heard that. You're hearing tumbling. And you know what? If that's perception, you probably also see Tome flinch when Gallery says that second to last thing.
I think he also notices the pin, and he just kind of like gestures for you to sit down, and he says, "Oh, come on, take a seat."
Tome kind of blinks in surprise before he does.
You cut out for me.
Tome does kind of blink before he a bit in surprise before he does sit down. All right.
And Arata kind of gives you a smile. Yeah, the good smell do be coming from here.
I rolled the con to see if stomach growls.
Go for it if you want. I know he's. I know he's.
I love that gag. I love that gag that Soul started to develop. Oh my goodness, the amount of embarrassment Tome is giving me from this. Yeah, there's definitely a stomach growl, and his face flushes slightly red. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Do you want something to eat? I mean, I'm working on a bit of curry right now. If you want.
I don't really have the time to splurge. Tome, I'm not gonna say I'm poor out loud. Plus I have some food back at home. Gallery. I'm not having curry right now. Gallery. Gallery, please stop chanting. Gallery, please.
You see Arata just slowly reach for a plate. Actually, he's gonna stealth this because he's fucked up at stealth.
I'm gonna see what you rolled.
Let me see if I remember how to do your fucking stealth modifier.
You could also probably do sleight of hand.
Do you want me to do fucking... Actually, you know what?
Do it.
Okay, yeah.
Because that would be a perception on Tome's end. So it would be pecked up. Tome can beat that.
Yeah.
Tome can technically be... Sometimes we just gotta put their disgusting stats against disgusting stats. Holy shit. Barely. You just barely get it past.
Alright, so while Tome's arguing with the gallery, because Arata does notice the pin, and he knows Pritch, he's met Pritch, he, probably can tell what you're doing.
Yeah, you can tell what's going on. Which, yeah, this is the first time he's seen Tome with the pin, because he wasn't wearing it during the other FPS.
Yeah. I mean, he's not gonna judge.
Good.
Anyway, Arata simply, like, while Tome is distracted, just kind of reaches for a plate, picks it up, goes over to the stove and, like, serves, like, some curry onto it. And then, when Tome looks back, there is a fresh plate of curry in front of him on the counter.
His face flushes very red, and he's like, one second. And he's gonna reach into his hammer space to pull out coin. I hold Tome in how he is.
No. This is on the house.
He kind of rose back and like, are you sure? Really,
No.
I have enough. I could.
It's cool.
Valerie, you cannot eat the curry.
Honestly, I don't mind. It's on the house.
All right then. And I'm going to make another whiz to see how fast he eats it.
I'm going to roll a retroactive sleight of hand to see how well Arata cooked this.
I'm rolling a con as well because he rolled he rolled low on that whiz. Holy shit! That is the best curry he's ever had. You know what? I can flavor this. That is, first of all, the best curry he's ever had. For the audience, by the way, that's a 34 to make curry. I think that is the best curry Tome's ever had. Um, Secondly, it's this very comedic moment of Tome kind of being obviously reluctant to actually eat the curry. And then he takes the first bite and he just eyes widen very tunishly, and he doesn't eat it like rapidly, but he is definitely eating this faster than a normal person would. This is very good curry, and he very much likes it.
And Arata does jazz hands.
Did you make? Sorry, did you make this?
Yep. Right off the stove.
Odds this is good.
Yeah, I know.
I I'm seeing now why Leo and Camille talked about your curry so often. God. You know what? I almost used Tome's curse word, but I feel like he's gonna save it. He to give an idea though of how good this is to Tome, he almost used his curse word of the day.
I love him so much.
I hope to me.
It is some bomb ass curry. This boy is a very good chef. I pat the roof of his head, and he looks so proud of himself.
He should. Tome is looking at him just like wonder and amazement. Little like stars around his head. It's good. Tome loves Pritch, but he's currently surviving off things that can be put in a fridge, which is a lot of good food, but it's also Tome. So they can only do so much.
Oh, give me a second. I got DM'd something.
You're all good. How you doing, gallery?
Alright, I'm back.
Welcome back.
I guess we're all just craving curry, and he just says, Errata kind of like, like I said, he's doing jazz hands, he's very proud of himself, and he's just like, yeah. I am very biased, I will say. I was taught by the best curry chef in Yedo.
I would believe it. Does Tome know about Yedo? Important question mark for myself, actually. Let me roll another straight D20, because intelligence, history, whatever it is, it's the same modifier.
Woof. This is like world geography, and you said Tome went to school.
I've also said before Tome was a bit slow. You've probably
heard of Yedo, so you know that it's a place, TM. You probably
he would know that much.
You don't know where it is or what it's like.
But yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the bias. No, I love Tome. Tome got a basic Toon education,
mm-hmm.
and then just went straight into his field. But he did get an actual education, unlike a certain other detective he knows who speedran it. Anyways, so Tom kind of blinks and goes, Yedo. I believe I've heard of it before.
Oh.
Though where exactly is it?
It's pretty far away. It's a small island country to the west of here, west of Anquo, past Faruma, past all that. It's right next to Fort Sinan, actually. It's they're trade partners.
Can he have advantage on Fort Sanon considering his two sons?
Yeah.
Can he? That's an 18. Okay. So at least he knows where that one is. Tome kind of blinks, goes, "Oh, Fort Sanon. Okay, I do know that one." There's a soft smile as he says it. Yeah, you know. The gallery says he knows a good bit. I'm guessing one or both of his sons have rambled at some point. The Leighton ramble they do.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
He
Both.
kind of nods.
Yeah, both Camille and Leo are from Forcenon. Um, so big crazy coincidence that the only ghetto dude that I know of, aside from the other guy and that one fucker,
There is a moment.
um,
Tome kind of sighs internally, goes, "I should have said shit earlier."
I'm
Um.
so sorry, Tomarada doesn't know.
No, I love you, beloved. That is part of the reason I don't actually make a big deal out of it, is because it is very in character for Tome to have it happen because other people are just doing it naturally.
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll a deception though to see how much he gets minorly pissed off randomly when you say the word. There's
Okay.
an eye twitch. There's an eye twitch.
He probably thinks you're like, oh no, that's a 2. That's a 2 on the dice. He
Nope.
he probably
Tome's vibing.
Tom's totally vibing. But like Arata kind of just waves a hand and he says, kind of crazy that the two biggest Yeto boys that I know of are buddies with the only two Fort Sanon boys that I know of.
Important question, because I wasn't able to re-listen to Untangling the Past.
Mm-hmm.
Did Azumi ever mention Arata by name?
Yes.
Okay, he did. I'm gonna roll that final intelligence because I purposely did not have Tome roll to connect the dots before this moment. And I think it's gonna be hilarious if is it gonna dawn?
It's gonna slowly dawn. I feel like it's gonna like build up throughout this FPS, but it's gonna slowly dawn on you.
It hasn't hit yet. It hasn't hit yet. It's gonna hit him later. It's gonna connect. Until then, we're just having. This is just the kids, the twins know. Yeah, I haven't met a lot of people outside Hankwell. I'll admit. Well, there's a bit of a grimace. Well, I have met people outside Hankwell, but not very much. Not unless they're related to a case somehow.
Arata just kind of shrugs, and he says, "Well, you don't really see a lot of Yeto people here in Einquell because of how far away it is. So yeah."
You know what's the funniest part about this?
What?
It just dawned on me. Tome rolled an 8 to remember Yeto. Azumi has mentioned Yeto by name in front of him, I think.
Yeah, he sure did.
This is really fun. Tome voice, I'm having a bit of a crisis over having accidentally adopted twins. I have completely forgotten the fact that I had my own traumatic experience, which also resulted in me finding out other people's traumatic experiences.
It do be like that.
Anyways, Tome just kind of nods and goes, "Yeah, traveling is a lot. Even for he gives a kind of snort. Even for tunes, location jumps, it can be a lot."
Like And Arata kind of like snaps his fingers and he goes like, what's it called? Montages?
Exactly.
He nods. And he says, I haven't had that one
They
happen
can...
to me yet, but I'm expecting it soon.
Oh, please don't say that around me. I already know how the rule of funny will kick in. And they are very montages. Okay, I feel like not. Maybe this is just my experience, but montages tend to be very exhausting for the Toon because they almost always involve some kind of like exercising or activity that has to be done. Nearly dying, something happens. There's never a calm montage. So you don't want one of those to happen. It's a lot of scene skips mixed with doing work.
And
The best it helps with is time.
Arata kind of just nods as he leans against the counter and he says like, yeah, no, I kind of get it. I have a friend who's talked about montage travel, and he's real kind. So like,
What?
he just hangs out with a lot of Toons.
Moon, that... Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that poor...
It's disorienting. Sometimes you're in one side of the country, and then all of a sudden you don't know where you are.
I hope your friend gets... I at least hope he starts ending up in places he knows.
And he kind of shrugs and he says, from what I know of that guy, he just kind of likes to walk around.
Can I ask out of character, who are you talking about?
It's Seeker, Magic's
Okay.
character.
I was trying to figure out. Okay. Thank you. I'm like, Tome would not know Secret, but I was trying to figure out of character who it was. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
worries. Like, straight up, Arata loves Seeker so much he just thinks that's a funky goat man.
Beloved. I'm just kind of nods a little sigh. All right then. And I'm gonna see how much of the curry is left. I don't know what to roll, so I'm just gonna roll a straight d20. There's almost no curry left. Which is okay because as it reaches the end, Tome's a Toon and they're at a place of eating, so there has to be food in front of him, so he unconsciously starts playing with the food more
Mm-hmm.
as the amount goes down to make it last longer.
Aww. Arata's taking that as a compliment.
I simply hold a Toon who very much enjoyed it, and also he cannot finish his food before the conversation is over.
No, that's fair. I think at some point Arata is also gonna reach for a cup and pour himself some like tea. And he kind of gestures to the kettle and he says, "Do you want a cup?"
Sure.
I did not decide what kind of tea it is, but he is pouring that out for you.
I will say Tome is going to drink it out of the way because a certain son of his has been getting on to him for how much coffee he's been drinking.
It is.
And Tome has been learning to like tea more.
Yeah. It's not coffee. Arata's better at making coffee, but this is also a barista. This is like what he is meant to do. But yeah, you have a cup of coffee to go with the rest of your curry that you are extending. Maybe the drinking a little bit of the tea will help extend your curry. So on and so forth. But eventually he does kind of like, pull up his own stool and like sit across from you. And he says, he kind of gestures, towards you and he says, you got one of those, Pritch twine pins.
Oh, yeah. You know who Pritch is? And there's actually a soft smile. Yeah, I'm a warlock of him.
Yeah, alright, cool.
Oh, and the gallery says hi, hello.
And, Arata waves.
Yeah, home! Home! There was very much mumbled under breath. Tome, gallery, keep that up, and you will be go. You will be go. Nope, I will put you in the hammer space. And he is very stiff as he says that.
Oof. And Arata just kind of chuckles and
For the
shrugs.
for the for the future listeners, the gallery is now trying to convince Tome that this is his son. They're trying very hard.
And Arata just kind of shrugs as you kind of mumble to the gallery because he can't hear the gallery. Pritch was like this a lot too. And Arata just goes, "Yeah, I met him once."
You met Pritch?
Yeah, he was pretty chill.
He is chill. Well, normally chill. There's a once he can be serious sometimes.
I mean, I kind of expect that. He's, a god.
There's a snort. Sorry, I haven't really met any gods outside Pritch, so don't actually know how most are.
Okay. Oh no, that was horrible. Oh, Arata.
What did you get, beloved?
He was
that
rolling he was rolling deception.
Do I need to even bother rolling?
No, you don't have to roll because he fucking crit failed.
No, oh shit! Yeah, Tome. Even if Tome gets a nat 1, he beats that.
Yeah, so you just see Arata kind of like wince and then try to hide that wince as he takes another sip of his tea.
Is everything alright? Sorry, I didn't mean to upset.
No, that's fine. Pritch is on a long list of gods and godlike entities that I have met, and he was the only one who was nice to me.
I need you to know, Tome just freeze framed because he gave me such amount of shock that I, the Spec, the player, just froze for a bit. There is definitely a moment of freeze frame as Tome processes two parts of that. You have met multiple, and none of them have been nice. Except for Pritch. And you just see him kind of slowly put his fork down and make the little prayer hands as he sits there for a moment. Arata, I don't know which part I'm gonna process first. The part where you have met multiple, not just one, multiple gods.
Well,
or the fact that they haven't been nice to you. Would that be considered an act of, if I take my pin off, I could try and fight. No, I'm not fighting a god. Tone voice, I'm not getting protective over it. I'm not fighting a god. No. Gallery, stop.
Arata just kind of, does a shrug. He says, I'm apparently... Okay, I'm not a toon, but apparently shit happens.
I know not all real kind believe in the plot, but You're plot heavy. You're plot relevant. Moon, you are. Did it? How many? Okay, I'm not gonna ask how many. No, I actually will. I'll just worry more. Um.
Arata lifts up a hand and wiggles 5 fingers. That's not.
Oh
And he says, "That's
God,
not."
that's over 3.
Arata says, "That's not even counting Pritch." And one of them is on a technicality.
Tome has his head in his hands right now. You just hear from muffled beneath his hands. Why are these people meeting so many plot relevant and how are these kids just meeting people? How do you just meet people? Just are you okay?
It's
What are
called
you?
being an
15?
extrovert.
16?
And he finger
You're a
guns at you.
child. How are you? Why do you have so much plot?
I am 19. I am technically not a child.
18 then.
I am
I'm sorry,
not.
I'm having to do this teasing to Arata. I told you I would do it in DMs. I'm doing it now.
I'm 19. Shut up, old man.
I, 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 19 is gallery. I will put you. This is your second. I will put you. You 19. Why have you had so much plot at 19?
Because of one of the fucking gods.
Tome is giving such prayer hands in the I cannot fight a god, but if I could, I would right now.
Don't worry, that god is dead now.
Yeah, he is not going to say that out loud. You don't even have to roll insight, though. There is an internal battle right now to go try and fight a god or something. Tome voice, why are all these kids involved with plot?
Sorry. There's something in my throat. We're good.
You're good.
Alright. Fuck, what was I gonna say? But, like, yeah, Arata's just like, yeah, that's just the snippet of my life.
I'm concerned. I'm just... I am not involved in your life. Just know that I am sitting here right now concerned because you're night. Cole's looking down his hands. Had I even solved a case on my own at that age? Tommy's just trying to process how you're so young and have done so much.
Out of character, it's called being a persona protagonist.
I hold him so gently. See, here's the funniest part. As I look at Toonkind D&D and most games in general, this is normal. As the gallery just point, Sam was a licensed detective at 13. Tome probably would have known that. Which means Tome knows that about Camille and all that. But what Tome does not realize is that his experiences of the plot not kicking in till he was a lot later are not universal. But it's really funny watching him basically being a dad and having a crisis.
It really is so funny. And Arata's just sitting here like, this is just normal for him, unfortunately.
He's concerned. He's so concerned right now.
So you can see why I'm not very religious.
I can't say but Tone kind of sighs because I know for a fact it would have been brought up at least. I'm pretty sure it's been brought up on recording that that the twins don't believe in aren't religious. So Tome is just kind of sitting here. A warlock. Just sitting here. He's not giving a comment. Nope, He he has lived long enough with he doesn't live with them, but he's known the twins long enough. Sorry, the gallery just had my new favorite quote now.
Oh, you're putting it in the shitpost quotes.
Please.
I don't have my snip tool. Hang on, I'll get it later.
I got it. I got you. Or one of the gallery can get it. Anyways, Tome has learned from the twins. Just don't. No, you do not. Tome is a warlock. That is okay. just don't. We just don't bring up. We just don't bring it up. He got through one argument, and the twins were very heated, and he understood what they were saying, but also Tome is a warlock, and he just placed his hands on both of their shoulders and went no. So he's looking at Arata, and he is like, I do not have the energy. I have been with the gallery all day. I do not have the energy to have this conversation. No, nope, nope.
Oh yeah, you have the pin, so that means Pritch is watching too. Hi, Pritch! Anyway.
Yeah. Whew, I got tears in my eyes. Ooh. Tone kind of just nods. Yes, I can absolutely see that. And I don't blame you, I guess.
And Arata just sort of nods.
Ooh, should I roll another intelligence to see if it's dawned yet?
Yeah. Let's go with that. I look away. You're rolling at advantage. God!
Tome's still processing the man, this kid is plot relevant.
He's just an extrovert, baby.
Who's not an extrovert at all. Just looking at this kid like how? What? How? Why?
I simply hold this funky little young adult. He thrives around people.
And I love him so much. Tome, although he won't say it, is holding gently inside his head.
And yeah, Arata just kind of shrugs and settles back. He's giving me the vibes of wanting to talk about each of the gods he's met, but I'm holding him.
You can say he does talk about it if you want.
I think what he says instead is that, on the subject of deities, you want to know a fun fact about Yeto?
Oh, sure.
We have a saying back there. Very, very funny to be, not religious and be from Yeto, because, Yeto has, as the saying goes, 8 million gods.
Tome does a bit of a spit take on his tea. 8 million?
Arata just nods.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of gods.
That's... Okay, okay, thank you, gallery. Um, okay, because I was wondering, would Tome know the other knows the no about Sam? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Hiro has many gods.
Geto has many gods, and I can confirm they are fightable.
Um, Tome kind of just Tome just handed me just kind of processing that. He just kind of like it lets that sit in, and it just kind of sits there with a bit of a prayer hands again. Because how does he even begin to unpack that? That's a lot of Toons have a lot of gods. Even they don't have that many gods.
They don't.
Oh, do you ever that moment where like somebody tells you something and you are processing it, but you're not processing it?
Yeah. It
That is basically Tome at this point.
it hits in the moment, but it's gonna hit harder later.
Yeah, he's kind of just in shock now. But he's gonna be just sitting in his laying down in his bed a couple days later, and he's gonna go, "Oh, Moon 8 million."
And Arata just kind of shrugs and he says, "Yeah, there are so many gods allegedly that people have just given up um on just worshiping one. Um so like if you're considered religious in Yedo, usually you follow a set of gods."
You just how many of these do people have memorized?
Uh, Arata kind of like pauses and thinks, and he's just like, "Hell if I know. I'm not religious."
There's a snort from Tome. You know, fair enough.
Arata is plot relevant, but you know what else he is? Hilarious.
Absolutely beloved. Perhaps because his player is hilarious.
I do a jazz hands. I'll be here all week.
Tapping noises, tapping. There we go. Pick up mic. Oh, so your mic picks it up, but mine.
uh, but yeah, Arata shrugs and he says, "But like, yeah, there are a lot of them. I've met. Uh, actually, I did get that number wrong. It should be 6 now. We can just retcon that.
Hmm?
He's met 6 gods, not 5.
That's what you said. You said 5, not counting Pritch.
No, it would be 6, not counting not counting
Ah.
Bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But he sighs and says, "But like, yeah, I've met Pritch before. He was pretty cool, and he was the first god I've met in person who was nice to me."
Well, I mean, that does sound like Pritch. He is a good god.
And Arata nods and he says, "I mean, I don't really know a lot of like Inkwell gods. I know Pritch and I know Prismatone, and that is it."
You know Prismatone?
Yeah, my brother, and he kind of like rubs a hand against the back of his neck. My brother's a follower of Prismatone.
Just Tome is doing that thing again where he's just how many how did just how
It's called being an extrovert, buddy.
I love I just man because I'm not gonna even make him roll to know Prismatome. Prismatome is a known now I believe is a known god.
Yeah.
If anything, I feel like Prismatome would have come up at least once with the twins because talking about Sammy, even if they didn't mention Sammy, just at this point.
It's simply not.
And speaking of, I point at who's typing in the gallery.
Mira, if you listen to this, I love you. You just came into the chat. But like, yeah, Arata nods and he says, I've met Pritch like a total of once. She was also pretty chill.
Yeah.
And, okay. Pritch and Prismatone are the only two gods that, were nice to me. The other 5, were fucked up. So you can kind of see the fucked up ratio I have.
We're finding you nicer gods.
I mean...
Oh.
Sorry, I have to make this fucking joke because I am the holder of the Persona lore in Draft House.
Yes, do it.
Oh god. Arata has found a nicer god, he just doesn't know it yet.
Why must you hurt me like this?
It blows a kiss.
Weeps. Sobs even. Tome just kind of just sits there. I'm gonna make another intelligence roll. Because we just gotta do it.
Alright. Oh, you did a D2, D20.
Shh. It's late. Okay. It finally dawns, I think, with the 17.
Yes.
Tome is kind of just kind of eating. And then there's like this slow processing. And you can almost see it's a tune thing. You see as he's eating him slowly pause and there's a quiet sound before a dot 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 appears over his head. Just straight up visual. And then somewhere in the background, a light that you've been meaning to fix turns on.
Oh, I love that.
And Tome sits there. Wait, you know Azumi!
Oh god, I should hope so.
The other, and he mentioned, and... Gods. I didn't even realize.
Oh shit, Azumi's talked about me. Huh.
Yes, you got brought up when we were discussing, some things involving cases.
Oh, I know about
Nothing bad. Nothing. Oh?
No, I know about his personal case. You can... and he kind of, like, looks over in the direction of like the front desk area, and he's just like, "Hey, Laura, we're gonna be talking about some plot stuff." And she just kind of sighs, and you hear the sound of like a chair scraping against the floor, and then the door opening and closing.
Tome just kind of blinks and he goes, I was gonna say if you knew exactly what case, but with that kind of yes, you know then.
And Arata nods and he says, "Yeah, I knew Izumi when he was still in Yedo, and he was the Detective Prince."
Does Tome know about the Detective Prince?
I don't think so.
Tome kind of blinks at that Detective Prince.
Yeah, Izumi was famous.
There is. I'm so sorry, Izumi. Tome has to bully you some, especially considering I feel like the two of you, your bonding is slowly becoming. We're gonna bully each other because we don't want to admit that we want to spawn each other.
And who better to bully Izumi in front of than Arata?
Hey, gallery. That was. Tome could hear that. He flinches. Yes, I love it when the gallery likes to talk. Uh, gallery, spoiling is normally what we consider. I won't let him hear it then, if you so wish, gallery. I do love it though when the gallery does forget for a little bit. It's listening and I hear their crimes sometimes. Um, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Tome kind of 1 second.
Are you bullying the gallery?
I'm seeing if the gallery wants me to bully them.
No, just bully Izumi, it's fine.
Yes, but beloved, I could also bully Tome. Okay, the gallery pointed out, much like a certain other detective Tome met, to which Tome hears that and flinches, but does not say anything. Instead, he kind of, blinks his pride and he's like, I'm surprised that, well, doesn't like to talk to people or smile or be happy in general. I mean, correction, he can be happy around when doing reports sometimes around other people, but Azumi? Famous? A detective prince?
Oh. Oh. Okay. Do you know that's fake smile he does?
Yes, trust me. I'm very, very, very familiar with it.
The very sickeningly sweet, pleasant boy, uh, front he tends to keep up in front of, like, police officers.
Yes. I've been trying to help though and do the reports for him. But yes.
Um,
Oh God. Okay. It's
okay, it wasn't that bad. He was actually really, really good at being a nice dude
Oh, I believe it.
in front of an audience. No, like, when I say he was famous, he had fangirls.
Tome is processing that. No, no. 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 Okay. All right. We're talking about the same Azumi here,
He
right?
had merchandise.
He had merchant.
He had merchandise. Like little
Mer
keychains, too.
I would bring this up to him, but I feel like it wouldn't be a fun topic. But if I need you to know, if I ever see Azumi merchandise, I, I don't even know how do I, I, I,
Literally, he reaches over and puts his hand on your shoulder, which is really funny because he's 5'9" and you're 7 feet. You're still, like, taller than him, even sitting down. And
absolutely.
He just goes, literally everybody knew Azumi by his smile. That's how famous he was.
I swear, if I have to meet another teen detective who has a fake persona for the public, I will go feral upon something.
And Arata just he kind of takes that in for a moment and he just kind of nods and he says, yeah, that's fair.
I will... Gallery, I'm not buying Zumi merchandise for Camille. I'm having a crisis right now. Shut up. What do you mean? Tome takes a sip of his tea a bit more aggressively.
Okay, here's what I mean. So, there's this world-famous detective.
Mm-hmm.
This world-famous family line of detectives. Have you ever heard of, the Shirahata family?
What do I...
History.
Okay, I love how I'm just gonna ask at this point. Okay.
Okay, you would have definitely heard of the Shirahata family. They are a real kind family, and it's a long line of detectives.
Tome is slowly starting to connect little dots.
So, the most recent Shirahata, which is, Naoya Shirahata, he was the previous detective prince before Azumi.
Mm-hmm.
Azumi studied under someone from the Shirahata family.
There's the processing again. God, it's okay. Okay. Tome internally? Okay, so he has more trauma than I thought. Which is really impressive because he had a lot of trauma. But he doesn't say that.
If you did, I would have done, like, a really fun thing with Arata.
I'm tempted now because I like that, but also would Tome say that? I'm gonna roll a deception because he's gonna be mumbling this. He's gonna be mumbling, Moon, what much trauma does this kid have?
I have news for you, buddy!
You hear it?
And you just see Arata kind of, like, flinch and, kind of pull back a bit as the baby's cartoons are going off.
I love how you said this would be funny, and I can already tell now it was a trap.
Yep.
What?
When I say funny, it's a 50-50 chance of it actually being funny, or funny in the haha, I'm gonna hurt you way.
Oh, you're having fun, which is enough for me.
But, like, yeah, Arata just kind of pulls back and he says, yeah, okay. No, that's fair. That's Azumi. That's Azumi.
Comes inciting.
Alright. So, you know that Arata knows Azumi. The fact that Arata knows about Azumi's personal case already signifies that he and Arata are very close.
Yeah.
Arata has known Azumi when he was still the detective prince, which I'm not gonna have to make you roll intelligence. You would assume was before he came to Inkwell, cough cough,
Yeah.
before he died. Arata
Oh.
knows Azumi probably a lot better than even Camille does.
Tome's processing this. And it's starting to dawn on him what that means Arata probably had to go through. Because Tome knows a lot about grief. And of all the conclusions he's given me, it's the, oh, you were alive for that. That's what's dawning on him. Sorry.
No, I probably shouldn't be talking about this when Azumi's not here, I guess.
I mean, technically I am on his case, so the more I know, the better. He kind of had me take on a lot of it after a recent conversation we had.
He actually looks kind of surprised at that.
It was a... And Tome's gonna frown, because I have a feeling Tome probably picked on this a bit. It was a bit of a exchange. I let him on my own case.
And Arata nods at that and he says, yeah, that's Azumi. He doesn't...
I tried... You go.
He doesn't really... He doesn't really do a lot without expecting a lot, you know?
Tome kind of frowns. I'd say I try and help, but I don't know if I could be much help. But I'll try to make it more clear to him that he doesn't have to do anything for me. I want to help him, and I'm just glad he's helping me. No exchange needed.
You and me both.
There's a snort. Maybe we can team up one day.
You, me, and Camille, maybe Leo.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. We get Leo to do the. Have you seen his puppy dog eyes?
I have seen his puppy dog eyes.
We get Leo to do the puppy dog eyes, and then Camille just as Camille. Look, he's so squishy. He's so tiny. Well, how can you say no to that? Especially if we can get Camille to sneeze.
Oh, is this about the kitten thing?
Yes.
And Arata just kind of like fist pumps.
Would Tome remember that Arata's the one he has to talk about for the other?
What's up?
Would Tome know that Arata's the one he needs to talk about for traveling?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like Tome would want to bring this up, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I know we wanted to bring this up. Tome kind of pauses, and he does get a bit more serious, and he kind of shifts a bit. Azumi did actually ask me to talk to you about his case, though.
Oh, you mean you're going with us to Yedo?
Yes, that was exactly it. He wanted me to talk to you both about information, which we can do another time. I feel like this isn't the most appropriate place to discuss his entire case. But also, Tome kind of fidgets a bit. You can see a little sweat drop. I don't actually have a way of getting that far somewhere, and I was told you could help.
Oh, yeah, no, I can hook you up with a ticket at the teleportation circle. Sorry, the baby started playing a playthrough of Yoshi's story, so the fucking Yoshi song started playing from the other room.
I need you to understand I could hear the background and it was bringing me so much joy. I'm not gonna. I like to. Here's the thing. Here's my favorite thing about Tome FPSs. All of that, you can just say it's the gallery or something. That's
Some
my favorite thing about Tome FPS is you can have anything happen in the background and just say it's the gallery doing something.
the gallery's shit posting on him.
Thank you,
Uh,
gallery, for instantly playing along.
anyway, and Arata says, I can get you a two-way ticket. Um, God. I mean, if you even just say that you're trying to help figure out what the heck happened with Azumi, I'm pretty sure Hatsumi will just pay for it right out of her own pocket.
I don't want to ask too much of people.
No, she'll just do it. I'm going to be honest. Hatsumi is the richest person I know.
Azumi did mention you knew someone like that.
We were in the same high school together, and she is the current owner of the biggest restaurant chain in Yedo. And in fact, they are planning on opening a few chains here in Inkwell.
Well, all right then. Tome just kind of shuffles a bit in more of his seat, and he kind of looks down and fidgets his hands. If it wouldn't be too much, I do want to help Azumi.
Yeah, consider it done.
Thank you. Seriously. And if you ever need anything, just let me know, and thank you again.
Dude, I should be the one thanking you. Do you know how fucking hard it is for Azumi to just talk about himself?
I am, yes, aware of some.
Dude, he doesn't even. He doesn't even. I don't even know how I did that. Okay? Like, I just hung out with the guy.
Oh, Tome just handed me two things. Okay. Um, first of all, there is very much a um which I will say as I started talking more about Azumi's case, he probably put the pen away just because that's not the gallery's information.
Mm-hmm.
I almost forgot that. But first of all, whenever Azumi starts off by saying that, there is very much a soft mumble from Tone, well, you are a good kid. But also, gosh, what was this? He handed me a second line, and I'm trying to remember it.
Take your time, take your time. It's okay if you don't remember, by the way, it's
The
fine.
second line was the important one. I don't know how I did it. Something. What did you say?
I don't know how I did it. I just hung out with the guy.
That's it. Thank you. Okay. There is a bit of sadness in Tome's eyes, and he goes, but I think just hanging out with him may have been enough.
And you do see Arata's, like, shoulders sag, and, he kind of does this thing where he's kind of, like, leaning on the counter, you know, with, like, elbows propped up, and he kind of runs a hand through his hair.
Mm-hmm. What I've been doing for half this FPS.
Yeah, and he probably did notice you put away the pin because that's not really a subtle thing to do.
Nope, it is not.
um, and he says, "Can I tell you something?" And you
Of course.
promise not to say this to Azumi.
Yes.
So when when Azumi disappeared, nobody really knew what happened to him. He just sort of just poof, went missing, and then like there wasn't much about it, you know? I mean, like, he was the detective prince. He was famous, and he went missing, and when they announced that Azumi went missing, it was a media frenzy for one day. And then after that, you might have seen like an article or two about it. But it's like they forgot about him, you know? Like they didn't really care that much. Like all of that love and adoration. I mean, when you're famous, it's only on a surface level. But even so, nobody really talked about him. He just went missing one day and people were like, oh, that's weird, and then nothing.
I'm about to roll a strength, and I must ask, how breakable is that cup Tome is holding? Oh my gosh!
Well, that was a crit fail.
Nope, that doesn't work. Man. Oh, can I roll, may I please ask advantage? Because
yeah, go for it. Just
I really wanted this scene.
oof.
I'm taking it. You know what? I'm politely asking, I ignore the dice.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I want this. Okay, I want this. There is, as you say this, Tome, there is this sound of cracking and shattering, and Tome just kind of goes, ah, gods, under, and as he yanks his hand back, and Tome was squeezing his tea mug so tight at that, it broke. I'm sorry. Let me help clean that up.
It's cool. And you see him like stand up and start to grab a broom and dustpan, and he says, "Don't touch any of the shards, God's sakes."
Tome kind of just laughs and brushes his hands over.
He says, "Give me a sec. I have a first aid kit somewhere."
It's fine. I'm gonna roll a con to see how badly he got. Okay, so there's probably like one or two cuts. It's fine, really.
I mean, it's not.
Tome just quiet and kind of nods. Tome is currently, you can roll insight if you wish to see how much or why, but Tome is notably kind of pissed off right now.
Ooh, that was a 22.
Yeah, you can tell the specifics of what you said. Not only do these sound familiar to Tome, but they hit a chord. However, and this is the most important part because it's over 20, you can tell while they were both familiar and hit a chord, neither of those were in relation to himself. Well, a little on the chord for himself, but not in the he's experienced that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Arata can pick it up. They both know Sam.
They do.
Yeah.
You also know Tome has adopted Sam.
Yeah.
And although he has not adopted Azumi, you could probably have told through this entire FPS he does care for Azumi some.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tome is a decent amount pissed off right now. And I'm sorry that I ignored the rolls in the cup. It was very important to me that he be able to be actually mad for once.
No, it was very thematically appropriate. And we love
It
some
was.
thematic appropriateness in our
It was the
FPSs.
silence. The silence only broken by the shattering of the cup.
Mm-hmm.
It makes my little brain happy. And Tone just kind of takes a deep breath as he kind of he doesn't touch the shards, he listens, but he kind of just sits there. I swear, one of these days, I will. If I have to hear about another, just, and just, the, and, mm. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, no, it's not fine, you know, but I don't blame you. That's what I mean. In fact, the guy who is to blame is already in jail, but I still hate his guts, you know?
Good. I'm glad to know that at least. Is there some justice in this world? Well, I mean, there's a snort. Well, there's plenty of justice. You know what I mean. A private investigator saying there's no justice in the world is a little funny, and that's why Tome did laugh, actually.
Yeah. And, like, Arata does kind of, like, chuckle and, shake his... roll his eyes at that, but he is going to, you know, clean up the mess, and he is going to bandage your hand.
Thank you again.
Yeah, don't. It's cool. I mean, I kind of have to clean up any messes made here. I work here and live
I
here.
could have helped. I could have helped.
You're a guest. Shut up.
And I still would have helped.
You're a guest, though.
I mean, I haven't paid, technically.
I said guest,
Unless you're
not
willing
customer.
to let me pay.
I said guest, not customer.
Oh. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Tone voice, wait, it just dawned on me that I am here because my company is appreciated rather than simply formal reasoning.
Yeah. I just dropped my dice. Have you heard that?
Okay, I was
anything.
looking at you like I was like, what crimes are you committing? Okay.
No, like I'm a fidgeter. I fidget with the dice. It drops sometimes.
Oh no, you're valid. There's like I have this like I have like this key to my desk. And if you ever hear scraping noises or sound, that is me fidgeting. No, you're valid. I'm a fidgeter too.
Yeah. I need to find my fidget cube again. Anyway.
Home is very much just not to that. Well, still, even guests can help out.
Nora just kind of shrugs.
And
he says, I mean, I appreciate it. I do, but, you know, I also kind of work here.
I know.
But
if I'm
job.
a guest... Yes, but if I'm a guest, then technically I'm not related to your job, and you don't have to do everything on your own, okay? Yes, that is Spec doing a little shove at Arata specifically, but Tome handed me the line out of character. I just made sure he said it, because you know what? I think Arata needs to hear that sometimes.
Yeah, and he just kind of... Alright, fine. And
but there's not much I can do now that you've cleaned it up. Sorry, beloved.
You know, he kind of like pauses and he goes, Point taken. But he does kind of like just shrug and like go back behind the desk, and he just goes, Genie, why are you still under the counter? Get out from there.
There's a snort from Tome. He remembers Genie, I feel like.
Yeah, it's hard to forget a face like Genie's.
Yeah. Oh, is the cat back there?
Well, he's here. He's not supposed to be down here during open hours.
What would Tome have to roll to try and convince Genie to come out?
That would be animal handling.
I didn't want to say animal handling to Genie. I didn't want to be mean to Genie. Okay.
No, that's fair.
Alright. I almost put it in the wrong chat for a second. There you go.
Oop. Oh, 14. Yeah, no, this is how we're flavoring it. So you probably, like, call to Genie. And Arata had been, like, mid-bending over to pick up Genie. Genie just straight up jumps on Arata's back and then onto the counter. And now he is looking at you, and he just goes, meow.
There's a snort from Tome. Well, hello there, little one.
Little shit.
Hey, look at that. Look at him. He's precious.
Arata stares at Genie. Genie does the knife cat face at him.
Genie voice, this one doesn't know that I'm a shit yet.
Arata just goes, you don't live with him. You don't have to live with this guy.
Yes, but I do live with Camille, and I'm pretty sure nothing could be a shit. I mean, Tome can't say that. I'm pretty sure nothing could be a... Ah, God. You cursed earlier, didn't you?
Oh no, you have a swear filter.
I do. It's
T-rated. I'm so sorry.
You're all good. Listen, I live with Leo and Camille.
I
kind of get used to it being gone before the third hour I'm awake. If I'm near them. Even if I'm not. He motions to where you live.
God, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're really good. Arata, you're good.
Here I am depriving somebody's right to speak their mind.
No,
he's being so overdramatic. He is playing this up for laughs.
Yeah, I almost got. There is very much a snort, and I'm gonna roll a D2 to see if Tome plays along. Yes or no? He does. There is a moment before Tome just kind of dies so dramatically. I guess I can't fake it anymore. You really have just absolutely ruined my day.
I'm sorry!
How am I supposed to communicate now? My greatest weapon is gone.
I'll swear for you. I will be your mouthpiece. I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore.
Tome just starts snorting. That's fair. I guess I've gotten a bit more used to being dramatic after starting to talk to Leo more.
Oh God, he is a dramatic...
Hey, don't curse about my son.
No. I mean it affectionately.
Tome kind of just smiles softly. I know. They like you. That's good for you. God, there is a little bit of a pointed stare, which is very much a part of the reason I like you is because they like you. Don't mess this up.
As if Arata would do that intentionally.
He would not.
He loves those two boys.
But Tome can't shovel talk him, but he can very much give the dad look.
Oh, Arata knows the dad look. He has, as I count my fingers, I think
so many dads.
He has 4 dads. 5 if we count Tome.
Gallery, Javi and I haven't even talked about that, please. Tome just kind of very smiles and snorts. Oh, those gods. Okay. Well, unless you have something, the line Tome just handed me was, I guess this is going to become the Toontown version of the Painted Lady for me then.
I'm going to be real. It's really only plot relevant most of the time if I'm there, so...
There is such a sigh of relief from Tome. Oh, thank the gods. Okay, then. Oh.
Okay. like I said, I'm not a Toon, but I've been around Toons for long enough, you know?
And it does rub off.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, you must have been asleep then, last time I was here.
Oh, you've been here before, huh?
There's a bunch. I was here before. It was not a pleasant experience, but that was unrelated to here.
Okay. That's fair.
No, there was plot going on.
Arata just nods. I mean, sometimes the plot follows people. Sometimes plot follows people in here.
Yes.
And it's usually when I... You want to roll insight? Actually, no, don't roll insight, because Arata just handed me, like, no, this would be obvious.
What? Wait, you cut out, beloved.
Arata did something obvious. You don't have to roll insight. He stops himself mid-sentence, and he just has this look on his face like he just remembered something.
But I didn't hear what cut out, though, beloved. That's what I was trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No, I didn't hear the first part of that sentence. I didn't hear any of the sentence, beloved.
I said that Arata... I said you could roll in insight, and then I changed my mind and said no, because...
Beloved, before that, I don't know what he said in response to Tome. At all.
Sometimes the plot follows people in here, but usually it's only when I'm in here. Oh, fuck, I am...
Okay, see, I didn't get anything after follows. Oh, my first one.
Okay.
That's why I was so confused.
Now that we're, okay, he stops himself mid-sentence.
Yes, I got that much. I was just like, beloved, there's no part that sounded like a sentence to me.
Yeah, he stops mid-sentence, and, like, he just remembered something and is sitting here fuming.
Tome kind of blinks and tilts his head. Except when what?
There was another fucker from Yedo, but I hate him.
Oh?
And he... Okay, so... You're a detective, right? You're a...
Yes.
Okay.
Well, private investigator.
Private investigator, sorry. You're a private investigator, so you're like pretty... Are you like a murder type investigator?
Normally.
Okay, that's good. So I can talk about this.
Okay. There is definitely a blink.
Okay. So I was working here one day, you know, as I do, because I live here.
Yes. Yes.
I get this customer, and he's chill at first. He's this real kind with a frankly abhorrent awful, awful, awful sense of style. Horrible fashion. I'm pretty sure he could have been arrested for horrible fashion sense alone. Turns out he's a bounty hunter and tried to bounty hunt another customer right in front of me.
Tome just blinks. There's a bit of processing going on. There's a bit of processing going on in Spec's mind too, but
So, like, I actually did have to, like, put a hold on my job just to walk these two losers over to the police station.
yeah. Oh, Moon, that means... Nope, I'm not gonna ask any questions. Nope.
I mean, that guy is, God, he's in, jail now. Well,
Yes.
you know. God. Unfortunately, the retail experience is wild, especially in Toontown.
Believe it, considering the way the detective and police work is.
I feel so bad for you. You're an
Oh.
inspector.
A what?
You're a private investigator. There you go.
Sorry, no, I just didn't hear you. No, you were good. No, I just didn't hear you. I Spec didn't hear you. You're good.
Okay.
Tome just kind of nods.
Oh, the baby is screaming in the background.
Yes, I am a private investigator here now. It's... Tome just nods.
Okay.
And there's just kind of he's just like, I may not deal with customers, but I do deal with Toonish level witnesses. Enough that...
Sorry, you say Toonish level witnesses, and my first thought was Ace Attorney.
Yeah, no, he's talking about Ace Attorney, like, any of that, like, you think of, like, just that one witness who is, oh, so dramatic, and won't stop complaining, and how everything's about them, and they're innocent, even if they're not, and he has the tired look of, we may not have the same experiences, but we both just want one day where people just behave.
Usually when they try some of my world famous curry, though, they'll shut up.
Tome just handed me dark humor, so I'm so sorry for that.
No!
No, because Tome went, yeah, no, normally the only ones that shut up during my cases are the dead ones.
No!
I'm sorry! He handed me the line!
And Arata just fucking, like... God. Okay, I can see why you like Camille. Okay.
There's a snort from Tome. Hey, how do you know Camille just doesn't like me? I mean, Leo's the one who adopted me.
No, I could tell.
Wait, no, Tome wouldn't say that. Tome wouldn't say that, actually. Tome would not admit that out loud. I retcon that slightly. Tome would not admit the Leo one. He would say, how do you know, I'm not rubbing off whatever on the Camille, but he would not mention the Leo thing because, that hit a trauma for him.
No, like, honestly, I can tell Camille likes you. I'm pretty sure it would be pretty obvious if he didn't like someone because he hangs out with Azumi.
Oh, he's not subtle. He's not subtle at all. Especially when he's upset with you.
Oh, Absolutely not.
Terrifying.
And if he and Nazumi are alike, then yeah, no, he's not subtle. And the baby is making noise in the background. Give me a sec.
Love it.
Alright. Anyway. So, damn. This really was just bullying these people behind their backs, the FPS, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pretty sure. Is there any person they haven't bullied yet?
They
got
Julie?
Leo, they got Camille. Do they both know they know Juvie?
They don't.
And we. Okay, they don't.
Well, I mean, it's probably something that can be rolled for, but, like, I don't know if we want to do it.
No, we're good.
Yeah.
We've been going for 2 hours.
We sure have.
We got a lot done, though.
Yeah.
Alrighty, then. Well, that Tome does kind of snort, and it is starting to get dark outside, and he kind of glances out. Sorry I've kept you so long.
No, it's alright. I mean, we don't really get a lot of customers anyway, so gonna be real. If you just want to hang out.
There's a snort from Tome. However, I love you, Arata, so gently, so much, dearest. You said that you don't get a lot of customers. Tome understands how pay works, and you sit on the house for him. He's gonna do a sleight of hand to try and slip some coin out.
Go for it.
No. Is this anything like Arata's? No, it's not even close.
And I will roll a quick yeah, no, he's not picking up on that.
Yeah, Tome does slip out a few coins and very carefully places them to where Arata won't see them until after Tome has left, but it will be very clear Tome left them.
Oh. He, like, probably stuck it under the plate.
Absolutely. So someplace it would only get to, because the plate's just barely getting empty now because of the conversation starting to end.
Yeah.
And Tome takes his last few bites. The curry was very good. I definitely will have to come back for that at least.
Oh, you're gonna love it when we all go to Yeto, cause I live with the guy who taught me, and his is better than mine.
Well, that's gonna be impressive then, for sure. Tome just kind of smiles softly. Gallery, I don't want to hear a single. Tome doesn't say this out loud, but I, the player, I'm like, Gallery, if you bully my boy one more time for how much of a dad he's being right now.
But yeah, Arata just kind of, I think what he does is that he does, like, oh, wait, hang on, and he kind of, like, reaches for something under the counter. Jeannie has by now, like, sat down on top of the counter, like, loafing like a cat, you know, like cats do. And he's just been watching this entire conversation, and when Arata pops back up, he holds out a couple of, like, chocolate coins, and he says, for the road home.
Tom kind of blinks before he takes them with a smile. Thank you.
Yeah.
There, he kind of smiles, and then he stands up and brushes himself off a bit. Places his hat back on with one hand, and that you know that hand movement. I can't explain it. Where they have, like, their hand on top of the hat and they put it on top.
Yes.
I can't put it into words, but you know the trope.
Yeah.
And he just adjusts it slightly. Well, I probably should be heading home. I try not to stay out too late, especially in Toontown. The
That
plot seems to be much crueler at night.
that does tend to fit in, I think, actually. Um,
Especially with my genre, and there is a bit of a stressed smile.
yeah, Arata gives you like a somewhere between a grimace and a strained smile, and he's just, yeah, I think you should get home before it gets too late.
Yeah, I should. I don't
Go!
need my extra paperwork or any
Whoosh!
of the other stuff.
Whoosh!
I'm going, and there's a bit of a snort, and he kind of gives a tip of his hat, and I'll see you later,
Yeah.
Mr. Arata. And with that, he kind of. I'm gonna roll a quick.
I'm gonna roll a quick what?
He does not. Okay. There is a. I'm gonna roll actually a bit of a step back. It's enough. Before he notices the door frame this time, and he ducks a bit, but it's probably starting to rain a bit outside because you know that aesthetic, the detective going into the night. Tome does do a bit of almost a slip.
Woof!
Before he catches himself on probably a bar or window or something, and he just gives a bit of a strange smile and a lift at his hat, and he's off into the night.
And Arata sighs, and it is late enough, and he figures that his coworker is off for the night because of that whole plot talk. So he's just gonna start closing up shop. And in the middle of, like, after he locks the door and in the middle of him cleaning off the counter, Arata looks over to Genie and he says, I swear to fuck if you say anything about my adopt me vibes. And that's where we end off.
Holy shit! Shit, okay. Thank you for that, beloved.
You're welcome.
Alright, well, in that case, I guess this is where we say goodbye to all our future and current listeners. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Spec, for playing with me.
Thank you, Avi, for playing with me.
Alright, and with that, we bid all of you a good time zone.
Bye.
Bye.